start with the basics of Selenium, and I'll talk about how Selenium evolved over a period of time. Fine. How did it evolve, right? So basically, you know what, Selenium came way back somewhere around 2006-7, right? I used it first time in 2007. Fine. And at that time we used to have a tool known as, hold on, just a minute. Yeah, we used to have a tool known as Selenium RC. Okay, many of you might have heard the name Selenium RC. Then there was one component known as Selenium IDE. Okay, and there is another component which is known as GRID, Selenium GRID. Okay, and you know what, Selenium IDE, fine, Selenium IDE is a tool which is primarily a record and run tool. Fine, Selenium IDE is a primarily record and run tool. It is actually practically it's of no use, to be very honest with you. If you have to work on a project, fine, if you have to work on a project which is having, say, which is having around 2000 test cases, right, and all of them have to be automated, it's very tough to do with Selenium IDE. Okay, I'm helping people to join in, right? So it's very tough to do with Selenium IDE actually, because you know what, IDE it has got a lot of limitations. It's a record and run tool. It only works on Mozilla. It has got no reports, nothing. Fine. So many people prefer working on it because it looks very simple to them. Fine, but practically it's of no use, because only you can test on Mozilla. You can just record on applications, and no reports are generated in the end. You don't get any kind of test reports which you can send to your managers or teammates. Fine. And secondly, you know what, record and run has got its own limitations. I hope you have a basic knowledge of what record and run is. You just record all the actions which you are performing. Fine, every automation tool has that. Okay, now these days sites are dynamic. For example, a site like bbc.com, you just cannot record and run and test the complete website, because the complete website changes every day, because the content of the site changes, the articles change, the news changes every day, every hour. So record and run won't help over there, right? That's why we had a tool like Selenium RC. Selenium RC was available in multiple languages like Java, C#, Ruby, Python, Perl. Fine. It was not a record and run tool. With it we could generate dynamic code which could test dynamic websites. Fine. But the only, not a drawback, but the only problem is that testers had to learn a language like Java, Ruby, Python, Perl, PHP, and we cannot run away from that. Okay, and it generated very good reports, and also all those features are there in Selenium RC. Fine. And GRID, it helped to run the Selenium RC scripts in a distributed environment. In GRID we make a central node and connect multiple other nodes to the central node. Fine. And we run the GRID. Okay, so if you have 3000 test cases, you can distribute test 1000, 1000 and 1000 test cases and execute your test cases in a faster way. Or on one node you can execute on Mozilla, on the other node you can execute on Chrome, on the other node you can execute on IE. Right. So this is the basic history of Selenium. That's what came in the market initially. Fine. Now what happened was GRID had its own disadvantages. Fine. GRID had its own disadvantages, and one of the primary disadvantage of sorry, not GRID but RC. RC had its own disadvantages. One of the primary disadvantage was that RC had a server. Okay, that server had to be started from a command prompt. Okay, and at times it used to fail to start, and then people used to log off their machine, then log out again, and all these different things they used to do, and they used to work with RC, right? And the API for RC, the functionalities for RC, there were many functionalities which were missing as well, which were required to be there. Fine. So people from ThoughtWorks and Google, they came forward and they developed something known as Selenium 2, okay, which is also known as WebDriver. Fine. It's not that RC code was modified to be developed in GRID. No. Sorry, WebDriver. Okay, RC never got converted to WebDriver. RC and WebDriver are two completely different tools. They don't have any relation with each other. Okay, the WebDriver could also work on multiple languages, dynamic code, report generation, multiple browsers. You had all these advantages in WebDriver as well. Okay, but there were things which were not possible in RC, they were possible in WebDriver. Fine, the API was used, you got a lot of functionalities available. RC, if you know RC and if you try to run WebDriver, it will look like a completely new tool to you. Okay, WebDriver came in 2011, and right now industry is using this. Okay, right. Selenium IDE is still there. At times it's used if you have got a project in which around 15 test cases are there, 20 test cases are there, you can use IDE if that doesn't matter. But if you have to work on a larger scale, then you'll have to use WebDriver. Okay, right. GRID has evolved into GRID 2. GRID 2 supports WebDriver as well. Fine. And again, it helps you to execute your test cases parallelly. Okay, so here we are today with Selenium. Fine, there are various components to learn in this tool. Okay, now from where will we start the training? We'll start the training from the Java language. Most of the people have problems in Java language. Most of the testers who try to learn this tool. So we'll start with the basics of Java language, and we'll also start parallelly with Selenium. I'll teach you some topics in Java, and then I'll teach you how those topics are used in Selenium. And gradually we'll move forward, and by the end of the training we'll also be doing a project which will help you to understand the end-to-end functionality of this tool. Right. So I hope everybody has got Java installed. Fine. I hope everybody has got Java installed on their machines. Right. The second thing which you need to do is that you need to get Eclipse. Fine. You just need to go to Google. I'm sorry. For some people, this might look very simple to you because you might be knowing things. But be with me as we proceed with the course. Right, we will move from simpler things to much more complex things. Right. So you write over here, download Eclipse. Fine. We go to Eclipse downloads out here, and you can download the Eclipse standard edition based on the Windows 32-bit or Windows 64-bit. Fine. If you have got 64-bit Windows, please note, if you have got 64-bit Windows, also install JDK. Okay, also install JDK. You just go to Google and type download JDK. Okay, you'll get the Java SC downloads over here. Fine. You click on this and you download JDK over here from here. Alright, so install it. This is mandatory for people who are having 64-bit machines to help you work smoothly with Eclipse. Fine. Once you download Eclipse and extract the bundle, you have a folder like this Eclipse with you, and inside this folder you will have eclipse.exe. You don't need to install Eclipse. Okay, you don't need to install Eclipse. You will simply have a bundle and you can start it up. Fine. So Sarika, we are not having a Skype conference, we are only having WebEx conference. Just a minute, guys. right? So you start up Eclipse. When you start Eclipse, you get a window like this. Fine. In this window, this part over here is known as workspace part. Okay, you have to give the path. Fine. You have to give the path of the location where you will be storing all the code. Okay, so you can browse through the location and select the path whatever it is. I'll make a new path which is June weekend 2014. Fine. So we whatever code we write, all the code of Java code will be storing at this particular location. Fine. I'm also recording the session after the class. I'll put the recording on YouTube and I will email you the links for watching the recording as well. Fine. So this is Eclipse, right? This is Eclipse and it's divided into various sections, right? Over here, this is known as the package explorer, right? Over here, this is the central part in which you will write all the code. On the left part over here, you will be able to see the projects and all, and at the bottom you will get the output. Fine. So Eclipse is an editor. It's an editor for Java language which helps you to write the Java code. Okay. Now, before I actually tell you about Java, before I actually tell you about Eclipse, I am actually considering a basic level from you guys. I'm considering that whosoever is joining the training, he has got the basic knowledge. Please keep your microphones on mute because it causes a lot of disturbance otherwise. Fine. So I am assuming that you have a basic knowledge about programming. Fine. You at least know what integer is, right? What a string is, what a for loop is, what a while loop is, what a function is. Fine. So I'm assuming that you have a basic knowledge about programming, fine, because I just cannot start from the very basics, right? If you feel that you don't know these things as well, right, then I would recommend you that don't join the training directly. Okay, go to my site otpselenium.com in the Selenium tutorial section. Subscribe to the video tutorials. Fine. Get the tutorials first. Later on, you can join the training by paying the remaining fees. Okay, that will help you a lot rather than joining the training directly. Because if you don't think that you have this much background as well, then you should not join the training directly. Okay, right? Now, moving further, okay, in Java, the first thing which you need to do is that you need to create a project. You right click over here in the package explorer, create a new project. Fine. You name the project as Java project. Okay, and click on next and give the project name day 1. I will give the project name as day 1 and finish. Right. So you will have this day 1 project created over here on the left hand panel. Okay. In this project, we'll be writing some Java code. We'll be seeing how to download Selenium and configure in this project and all. But before I go forward, I just again want to ask you people, is there anybody who is having any questions? Please feel free to ask your questions. Okay. Shiva, make sure you don't have any electronic equipment near your PC. Make sure you don't have any electronic equipment. Right? Because I think others are able to hear very clearly. Any questions from anybody regarding the course, regarding the tool, regarding anything, whatever you feel, please feel free to ask questions. There is nothing to worry. Fine. Okay, the question being asked is how long will the course last? It will last for 6 weeks. 5 to 6 weeks minimum it will last. Right. It's every day on Saturday and Sunday. Right. For 2 hours.
Ashish Manthana this side.
Yeah.
I mean, is it Selenium is able to automate the test cases on Hadoop like frameworks, or it's still not compatible with that?
It can be compatible. Java is a language which is open source. You can make it compatible with anything.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Praveen, you can take up any version. The question being asked is, whenever you type a question in WebEx chat, please make sure you direct it to everyone so that everyone can see it, right? So, the question being asked is which version of Eclipse you need to download. Okay, when you go to Eclipse downloads, okay, just hold on. Yeah, you can download any version. This is the most elaborate version, Eclipse IDE for Java EE developers. Right, you can download any version. You just have to work on core Java. It really doesn't matter. Fine. All right. Uh, Jolit, I'll make some new as well. Okay, those are the standard ones which are being used in industry, which I've discussed. Okay. So, okay, you are joined. You've joined now. Fine. So, all right. Please note this meeting allows maximum 25 people. All right. So now moving further, right? I'll create a new class over here. Right? I'll name that class as sample. Okay. And how do you create a new class? Right click on the source folder, new class. Okay. And call it sample. Class means a Java file basically. And click on this method public static void main, and you will see that this sample.java is created in your project. Fine. I'll just improve my font size so that you are able to see it very clearly. Fine. I hope you are able to see the font very clearly. Okay. Right. Now this is the first line, public class sample. The name of the class should be same as the name of the Java file in Java. Okay. And this is the function main. Just like any other language, for example, if you have studied C language, main is the function in which the control comes up for the first time when you run your program. Similarly, in Java, main is the function in which the control comes up for the first time when you run your program. Fine. In Java, to print something, the command is system.out.println. So you can print anything, hello Selenium or something like that. System.out.println is the command. The shortcut is you type SYSO and hit control spacebar of your keyboard. Okay, if you type SYSO and hit control spacebar, you will get this line. Fine. So you type system.out.println hello Selenium, and you can execute this program. There are two ways to execute this program. You can right click on the file and select the option run as Java application. Fine. You run this as Java application and you will actually see hello Selenium being printed. Or you can click on the top this green icon, so right, and you can click on this and hello Selenium, you will see that it's printed, it's again running. Fine. This is the console window in the bottom, fine, in which you will get the output. At times what happens is that when you are at a beginner level, you tend to close this window by mistake, and later on you don't know how to open it back if you have to see the results, right? And it's quite frustrating to bring that window back. Okay, you can bring the window back. You see in Eclipse on the bottom left corner, this corner, fine, there is a small icon. Okay, you click on that icon, a menu will appear, and you click on console, right, this window will appear. You can drag it at the bottom. Fine. So just telling you because people approach me with these kinds of problems in the beginning that my console has closed and I'm not able to work. Okay. Or at times what happens is that they close their package explorer. This window you see on the left hand side in which you see the project and the class and all, they accidentally close it. Okay. It can again be opened by clicking over here and selecting Package Explorer, it will be back. Right? You can uncheck the fast view. Right? So pretty simple things, but at times they make you bite your nails. Fine. So now the next thing is that um, if you go to your project day one, right? If you right click on it, fine, you will get lot of options. You will be studying about these options. Okay. The most important of them being the properties. If you go to the properties, these are the project properties. Fine. Resource tab shows that where the project is lying on the hard drive. Fine. Java build path is used a lot. Fine. So we'll be looking at these properties as well of the project as we proceed with the course. Fine. So I just want to explain you that when you right click on the project, you get the option called properties, and you can go to the project properties from here. Fine. Now, as I told you that this is the class and this is the function inside it. Inside the function, I'm typing hello Selenium. I'm assuming you know basic things like what string is, string hello or something like that. You know what integers are and all that stuff. Okay, right. Now, if you want to locate the location of this project, if you want to go to the physical location of this project on the hard drive, you can go to the properties section of the project, and under resource you will see the location of the project. You copy the location, fine, go to this path, and you will see various folders. Okay, out of all these folders, you will be able to see the source folder inside Eclipse. Rest nothing is visible. Only the source folder is visible inside Eclipse, and inside the source folder you will have sample.java file which is there inside Eclipse. You can open it and you will see the same program which I had written in Eclipse. Okay, so this is how you can map to physical location of the project. Right. Now, apart from this, right, this is the bin directory. Okay, inside the bin directory you will see sample.class file. Every Java file when it is compiled, fine, it is converted to a class file. In bin folder, class file is stored. Class file is like an executable file in Java language. You can deliver it to the client. Fine. The client, if he tries to open the class file, he will not be able to understand it. Like we have the exe file, right? Similarly in Java we have got class file. Okay, every Java file is converted to a class file. If I create a new Java program over here, if I create a new class and I call it test, and inside it I just type system.out.println testing something, fine, and if I run this program, fine, you will see that inside the bin folder test.class is generated. Okay, so every Java file is converted to a class file at runtime, at compile time. Okay, now how is this class file important to us? Okay, this is important because we deliver the class file to the client. Fine. Now suppose you have a big project. Okay, in that big project you have got hundreds of Java files, right? You have got so many Java files lying with you, and corresponding to each Java file you will have a class file as well. Fine. So how will you deliver all these class files to your client? Because we saw that for every Java file one class file is generated. Okay. So how do you deliver all the class files to the client? We bundle all the class files in a single class in a single file. That single file is known as jar file. Most of you might have heard the word jar. Okay, jar file is a single file which is collection of many class files together. Okay, and that jar file is given to the client. Giving you a practical example, when you install Java in your machine, fine, Java is installed. Okay, when you are inside Eclipse, fine, inside Eclipse you will have this project, and inside the project you have this source folder, and you have got JRE system library. Fine. This GRE system library is nothing but Java which was installed in your machine. Eclipse will not work if Java is not installed, because inside every project inside Eclipse, Java GRE system library needs to be bundled. Fine. So this GRE system library is the Java library attached to this project. Okay. And inside this GRE system library, you will find various jar files. Okay. Each of these jar files is having lot of class files inside it. And each of these jar files came in your system when you install Java. Okay. For example, if you expand this rt.jar, you will have lot of packages and lot of class files in it. You see that? So many class files. These are all inbuilt Java files. Inbuilt files, sorry. These are all inbuilt files inside Java. Okay. For example, giving you a practical example, if I write over here system.out.println, right? And if you write over here new date, just forget what new means over here, what I am doing. But in a very layman's term, I am trying to use date class which is inbuilt somewhere inside Java. Okay. If I run this program, it prints the current date and time of your system. Right. Now what is this date? This is an inbuilt class which is present somewhere in the jar files which you have downloaded. Okay. And I am using it. Right. So I am using the inbuilt feature of Java, the date class. This date class is present somewhere in these jar files, all these jar files. Okay. So jar file is a file which contains multiple class files inside it. Fine. And you can use these classes as a predefined functionality. Okay. And that's what we do in Selenium as well. Okay, what is Selenium? Selenium is an automation testing tool. An automation testing tool which tests how to which tests basically how to do functional test cases on web-based applications. Fine. Selenium is only for browsers. It is not a tool which can go and automate your desktop-based applications. Okay. So in Selenium everything is inbuilt. You get the Selenium jar files. Selenium jar files are actually downloaded from the Selenium website. You download the Selenium jar files and you then assemble the jar files inside this project. You import the jar files inside this project. Right now I just have Java jar files inside the project. Later on I'll explain you how to incorporate Selenium jar files in the project as well. After you incorporate Selenium jar files, you just need to use the existing classes of Selenium and work with Selenium. Alright. For example, this is an existing class date inside Java language. Similarly, in Selenium also there are a lot of existing classes. Right. Now let us see how can we download the jar files of Selenium and how can we configure them in the project. Okay. So I will right click, I'll first of all not right click, first of all I'll go to the website of Selenium, which is seleniumhq.org. Fine. The first line on this website is Selenium automates browsers. So don't think that it's for your desktop based applications as well. You can go to the download link and the latest version is 2.42. Okay. You can click on the download link over here and a download will start, a zip file will be downloaded, and when you extract it you will get something like this. I've got 2.40, right. So you will have these two jar files downloaded, Selenium 2.x.jar, and under the library you will have lot of other jar files of Selenium as well. Okay. So these all are Selenium jars. You need to include them in the project. Fine. So you go to your project, alright, and right click on the project, go to the properties. I am telling you how to configure Selenium in your project. There is no exe file for Selenium. At times people think that Selenium will have some exe file in which you will execute or something like that. There is no exe file for Selenium. Fine. For QTP it is, obviously for UFT it is, but for Selenium it is not. You go to the properties of your project and go to Java build path tab, which is the third tab from the top. Okay, and under that tab you will see the library section. There are four sections: source, project, libraries, order and export. Fine. You go to the libraries tab, and under that you click on the button add external jars. This button on the top. You click on this button and you will see that this window will come up. In this window you need to go to the location of your project. Hold on. Versions, yeah. Include this jar Selenium Java. You can remove the sources.jar. This is not required. You use this. This sources.jar has actually got the source code of all the jar. This is not required actually. You include this jar, double click on it. Fine. After that again click on add external jars, and don't forget to include the jars which are present inside library. Okay. Include all the jars under library. That's it. Selenium is configured. You will see a reference library section generated over here. Okay, and under that it will be auto generated. Under that you will see the jar files of Selenium. So you have got two libraries associated with your project now. One is Java, which is installed in your system, and second is the Selenium library. Inside Selenium library lot of jars are present, and inside each jar you will see lot of classes. You have to use these classes to write the Selenium code. Okay, right. I'm sorry guys. Right. Now moving further. Okay, moving further, how do we use these jars? How do we use these jars? Well, now comes Java language. Okay, you have a project, an empty project. This is more or like an empty project. I just made some sample Java files. Now in this project I have incorporated Selenium under reference libraries. Okay, many of you might not get this reference libraries. Okay, if you don't get it, don't worry. You have to switch to the Java perspective in Eclipse. Okay, there are various perspectives in Eclipse. Alright, you click on the icon over here. You see this icon, small window kind of icon, right? You click on this and go to other and select Java over here. Then you will get the reference library if you don't get it. Alright, now to use the jar files, okay, to use the concept, to use these concepts of jar files and all everything, you need to know the concept of object oriented programming in Java. Many people don't know the concepts of object oriented programming, and when they go and try to learn Selenium, right, they really get confused, and in the end they try to leave the topic or something like that. Selenium is not very tough, it is very easy. Only thing is you need to know a little bit of Java language. I'm not saying that you need to be a skilled person in Java and you should know how to make websites and you should be a proper developer. No, just need to know core Java. It is more than enough, and it is very simple if you learn it in a structured way. Right, if you go to this website seleniumhq.org, right, this is the Java client version which we are talking about, and we downloaded it. In front of it you will see a link Java doc. Okay, if you click on it, this is actually the documentation of Selenium. Now it's not easy to understand the documentation of this of Selenium, because this documentation is completely object oriented in nature. Fine, a person who is not having the knowledge of object oriented programming, a person who is not having knowledge of core Java, he will be not so comfortable reading this thing. Okay, so the documentation is there. You need to be a little bit good at Java, right? That's it. I will not say that you have to be a good programmer or skilled person. No, you just have to learn it. Okay, a question being asked is how much percentage is required for an interview. You need to know core Java for clearing an interview. Java is divided into various levels: core Java and advanced Java. Advanced Java is used to build up websites and all, which you don't need to do. Okay, you just need to learn core Java, and I'll be talking about core Java in this project. The first basic principle of core Java is the principle of object-oriented programming. Fine. So we need to study the concept of object-oriented programming, which we are going to do now. Fine. So uh, any questions from anybody? Any questions? I'm not able to hear you. I'm not able to hear you. You can also type your question if you have. All right. Fine. So let's move forward. Okay. And now the concept of object oriented programming, right? What are objects? Let us look at what are objects, how they are used, and how we can be benefited from them, right? Because jumping directly to Selenium makes no sense. Okay, so let me make a new class, a new Java class. Fine. Okay, there's a question being asked. If you missed any session, the session, yeah, I record the session, I record every session. If you miss any session, you'll get the recorded session. Right. Okay, can you please let me know again what is the difference between RC, IDE and WebDriver? Okay, I'll let you know. The question being asked is, as I explained in the beginning, about RC, IDE and WebDriver. What is the core difference between them? Right? Look, IDE first of all is very different from RC and WebDriver. IDE is a tool which is primarily record run. You have the feature of record and run in it, which is there in almost all automation tools. But this is not a very good feature. You cannot record and run the dynamic applications. Fine, that those are changing every day. Okay, right. It is not a tool which will generate you reports. No reports are generated. It only works on Mozilla. Right. It is difficult to debug. At times, what happens is that you have to slow down your you. If you have an RC, if you have a script made in IDE, fine. You run it 10 times, and I can give you in writing that it will fail once and pass 9 times. Minimum once it will fail on the same flow. Okay, so there is a scroller to slow down and to fast the speed, to fasten the speed of execution of scripts in IDE. So people slow down their scripts and then run it to make sure they don't fail. Right. So IDE scripts, I've seen them failing unnecessarily. You run the script once, it passes. You run the script again, it fails. Fine. So lot of problems. Okay. So RC, if you talk about RC, RC is also known as Selenium 1.0, and WebDriver, it is the latest version. It is known as 2.0. Fine. Now, if I tell you right now, okay, if I try to go inside the internal contents of RC and internal contents of WebDriver, and if I try to tell you the difference, then most of you will not understand. Okay, superficially, just understand that there were many things in RC which couldn't be done. Okay, and which are possible in WebDriver. For example, a very basic example, pop-up management. Okay, sometimes you go to a website and automatically a pop-up comes up. You never click anywhere, you never do anything, and automatically a pop-up comes up. Right, so the pop-ups which come up automatically, it used to be very tough to handle them with RC, but in WebDriver it is very easy. Okay, so there are small things which are there, fine, which are better in WebDriver, and people prefer WebDriver. That's why Selenium has got famous now. It's a free tool and it can do anything which a paid tool like UFT can do with web-based applications. So that's why it's getting famous. Alright, so I think that answers your question. Okay, Okay, there's another being code is used. Selenium is majorly used with Java, Perl, C Sharp. Yeah, Java, Perl, C Sharp, Ruby, and all. JavaScript and HTML are not so easy to use. Okay, don't use JavaScript. It's not so easy. Okay, it's not so easy. Better learn it with Java, PHP. Sorry, Java or Ruby. Selenium is available in lot of languages. Okay, the reason why it is available in lot of languages is because the core of Selenium is actually JavaScript. I will not go into that topic right now, but I'll tell you that Selenium is available in Java, Ruby, Python, WebDriver. I'm talking about WebDriver. It's also available in C Sharp. Fine. Java is the most widely used. After that, Ruby is used. Okay. The reason being is that Java is open source language. It's a platform independent language. You make the code on Linux, you execute it on Windows, it will work. Okay, if you're stuck in Selenium and if you're using Selenium with Java, then there are a lot of forums which help you out and you get a lot of help as well. So that's why people use a lot of Java language, right? So okay, fine. There's a very good question being used. Qtp or Selenium, which one is having a good future? Look, Murli, it's very difficult to predict. Okay, I have been working on automation since 9 years now. Earlier, only test director, then QTP, and now UFT. Okay, used to be there, but now what I have seen is after 2011, market is switching towards Selenium. When I worked on Selenium for the first time in 2007, nobody was working on this tool, and I had a real tough time learning it. Okay, but after 2011, when WebDriver came, everybody started moving towards this tool. Okay, so QTP people, HP guys are facing a problem right now, no doubt about it. But if you talk about the tool, then I would say QTP is any time better tool than Selenium. Anytime. Okay, it's too accurate. It's very easy. First of all, it's very easy, and uh, it is very professional. Okay, it is very professional tool. Fine. Selenium on the other hand, it is open source. You have to directly write the code in Eclipse. There is no user interface, nothing. Fine, like the developers write. Okay, but it is not tough as well. It's very easy to use as well. Pro Provided you have you get your hands on it. That's it. Okay, right, right. So, all right. Now moving further, like any other questions from anybody? Any questions? Right. So I'll talk about object oriented programming now, but before that, let me have a break for 10 minutes. Okay, let us break for 10 minutes and then we'll start off with the concepts of object oriented programming and we will see how the features of these jar files, right, are used. Okay, Praveen, I never tried that. I never tried connecting Selenium with QC, but I think that is possible. Using the QC AOM, you can do it. Okay, but it won't be so simple. That will be a tough task. Okay, all right, fine. Let's break for 10 minutes and we'll start.